Come on in, everybody. It's time for the Southern Route. So, what's the Southern Route all about? Well, it's about Southern stuff. Southern people, Southern music, Southern food, Southern nights, Southern traditions, nostalgia, and so much more. Hello, friends. I am your host of the Southern Route, Shannon Courier. Welcome back for another week of discussion with friends and family and those awesome people that I know in my life that I would like to share with you all. If you are joining for the first time, welcome in. Hello. I'm happy you're here. If you've been listening from the beginning, thank you for coming back. I'm excited to have you back. If you've missed any episodes, I would love for you to catch up on tncradio.live or on the TNC Radio YouTube channel. All of the episodes are there. And tonight, I want to welcome back my friend Dana Karnowski, who is joining me tonight. Dana, welcome to the Southern Route.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on again. I love always getting to spend time with you.
I always enjoy talking to Dana. We talk a lot just in general, and it's always interesting conversation. There's always funny stories, but we share our funny stories, our stories that make us upset, the stories that make us angry, and then we help each other laugh about the tough times. And so I'm thankful for your friendship. And what we're going to talk about tonight, I actually had show up in my Facebook feed. Just, those random things show up in your Facebook feed. You don't know why you get them. And some of them you're like, oh, that's cool. And others you're like, why in the world? But this one was cool. So a couple of months back, I had a Facebook ad come up for a live event that Matthew McConaughey was doing called The Art of Living. And that's not just my accent, living. That's actually the name of it. There's no G on living in his live event. It's called The Art of Living. And I be honest with you, I had to click on it because it's Matthew McConaughey. I mean, like, my husband tells me I need a bib every time I say his name because I start drooling because he's one of my favorite actors of all time. And who doesn't like to look at Matthew McConaughey, and who doesn't like to listen to Matthew McConaughey? His voice is just amazing, and so I clicked on it and I thought, okay, it's probably going to send me a sales thing, right? Well, it actually was this live event. It's a free event that you could sign up for. Now you could upgrade, and pay if you wanted your face to be on a video screen, but I didn't do that. And so I joined this live, but I was telling Dana about it one day and it had shown up in her feed as well. And so we decided to sit through this live event with Matthew McConaughey. He had was also hosted with Dean Graziosi and Trent Shelton and Tony Robbins, and it turned out to be a 5-hour event. I didn't really realize that's what I was signing up for, was a 5-hour event, but it did turn into a 5-hour event. So it was so impactful, and Dana and I have talked about it numerous times since we have watched the live, and the live's not up. You can't join the event. It's over now. So if you missed it, I'm sorry. Maybe you can find snippets of it on YouTube. But we wanted to talk a little bit about it tonight because it really did impact both of us so strongly. And I just wanted to share about it because these days we need something that is encouraging, something that is uplifting, something to make you think, you know, what can I do better? What can I do more of? Because if you're anything like me, I mean, I'm 52. If you're anything like me, you're thinking, have I done everything I'm supposed to do in this life? And for me, the answer is no. I just know that there's more I'm supposed to do. And so, Dana, welcome in. I'm excited to talk about this with you.
I'm super excited. This was very, very impactful to me. It came at the right time. Like Facebook knew exactly what I needed when I needed it. And was able to participate in the event, if you will. It was 5 hours, so it was more of an event. But
it was a production for sure.
It was a production, yeah. And so I think it just came at the right time where my mind was open to listening to it. My heart was open to, making some changes. And I mean, there was just so much information that I'm still processing it here a month later and still thinking about things. So, I definitely I wrote down some things that stuck out to me, but I mean, I know there's more. I mean, it's going to come to me and I'll write it down. And I think that's what made it so impactful was that, I was excited about a change, and change is hard.
Change can be scary for some people and it can
Yes.
be hard. I'm not afraid of change typically.
Mhm.
Um, but some people are. Change is hard as far as making changes on ourselves, that's for sure.
But you're exactly right with, it was an opportunity to watch Matthew McConaughey for 5 hours and listen to him talk. You know, this on a sidebar. So one of my sons was accepted at the University of Texas, and I mean, I was the tuition for him to go was way more than we could afford. But I was seriously trying to figure out if I could sell an organ because um Matthew McConaughey teaches at the University of Texas in Austin, and I just thought, man, maybe if I get he goes to school there, I could just go and visit all the time, and we could bump into each other, and I can.
For real.
So anyway, that's just a little sidebar, funny story. Anyway, I told him he should pick other reasons. He wasn't as interested in Matthew McConaughey. So,
I know
um,
it.
but anyway, it was very, very impactful. And like I said, it's something that I'm still processing a month later, and I haven't really been on a webinar or a podcast or something like that that has just resonated and stuck with me. And I find myself, Shannon, um, when I say things now, I'm thinking, well, was that really, should I could change that. I could change my way of thinking on that. So anyway, I'm excited to be here.
I know I'm excited to talk about it. So tell me, I have lots of notes and I'd really like to listen to it again because I guarantee I would glean some new
Yes.
things out of it, listening to it a second, third, probably even fourth time. And I will do that. I have added some notes actually when I went back looking through these notes. I've added some notes to what was there because I remembered some other things and how it made me feel at the time. But what was the first thing that you wrote down in your notes when you were listening to this?
So I was looking through my notes and I can't remember now whether I'm sure this wasn't it may have been the first thing that I wrote down, but I think I may have heard it later in the broadcast, and I went back and wrote it at the very, very top of the list. And I thought it was really important. So I think it was the first thing I wrote down, but I'm not 100% just, full disclosure. But the first thing that I have at the very top of my notes is "You're worth it." And I wrote it in really big letters. "You're worth it." And to me, that just was so important for me to hear it, for me to write it, for me to believe it. Um, you're worth it. We all need to know that we're worth it.
We need
Yes.
to tell ourselves that every single day, to be honest with
Yes.
you. The more we say it, the more we will believe it.
Yeah, it's like an affirmation. I should just get up every morning and look in the mirror and say, "You are worth it."
That's right. Put a sticky note on the mirror. I'm worth it. You are worth it. You're looking at yourself because we
Yeah.
are all worth the investment in ourselves. And, we've talked about before about, being women in general, moms, wives, daughters, Southern women, we are, we tend to put others ahead of ourselves. And again, I'm not advocating for a selfish lifestyle or anything where you don't put others before yourself, but we can do it to the detriment of ourselves. And I think it was a great reminder of that. You can't continue to pour from an empty cup. A lot of times we run on fumes because we do give so much of ourselves. And I think of those, you see those memes sometimes when it talks about a mom and she's got angel wings or something, and the wings are very sparse because she keeps taking feathers out of her wing and puts it in her child's wing or her husband's wing or her parents' wing to make them whole. And yet we're not investing in ourselves to keep making ourselves whole. So we have more and more to give.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like I said it earlier, is that this just came at the right time for me and at the right stage in life, you know, getting older, empty nesting, taking care of parents, and all those things are still very, very important to me. But I realized, and by putting it at the top of the list, that yes, I'm worth it too. So I'm gonna try to focus more on that.
So he talks a lot about doing more. Here's the thing that I wrote. My first thing that I wrote was, we are guilty and approved at the same time. Now, those are his words, those are not my words. We are guilty and approved at the same time. And that did remind me of my faith, um, which, I've had a lot happen in my faith journey at the last church that I attended that really did a number on me. And so I've had to walk through that, and I've been gone from there, 8, almost 9 years. I'm still walking through that faith journey of what happened there and the hurt of what happened there. And so my faith journey has been struggling a little bit. But it also reminded me that, you know, we all make mistakes in our life. We don't do everything right. We hurt people when we don't mean to. We say we're going to do things we don't follow through on. Not that we purposely don't follow through on it. Life happens and things happen and we let people down. And so we don't necessarily do things the way we'd like to. We're not as thoughtful as we'd like to be. I tell myself, I need to send a note to somebody, and then I'll get busy and I don't do it. And then I'm disappointed in myself because I didn't send that note or I didn't reach out. Um, that doesn't make us bad people. We shouldn't feel guilty about those. Should we realize that we are worthy, that we can stop what we're doing, take that few minutes to focus on ourselves, to write that note, or to maybe think about how I can handle a situation better the next time. There's all sorts of things that we remind ourselves that we are worthy of that extra few minutes to invest back into ourselves so we can be more for somebody else.
I love it. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I don't know, you probably have gone through this too. Like I used to think that, oh well, I can't sit on the couch and read a book, or I can't sit on the couch and um watch my favorite TV show because, that's for everyone else to do. I've got to get lunches packed, or I've got to get the laundry done, or I've got to, go do this. And the truth of the matter is it's okay. Yes, I'm guilty of, being lazy for a day. It's okay. It's approved.
That's right. That's right. It's approved. And the world is not going to stop because we take an hour or a day to do something for ourselves or just to relax and rejuvenate ourselves so we are ready for what comes at us the next day. Guys, we have so much more to talk about, but we've got to hop out for a quick break. You are listening to the Southern Route. I'm your host, Shannon Courier, here with Dana Karnowski, and we are talking about the recent live event that was put on by Matthew McConaughey called The Art of Living. And what we got out of it, it really has impacted both of us and really made us think about how we would like to do things better and achieve that more that we all seem to want. So we're going to dive right back in after this break. We'll be right back here on tncradio.live.
Hey, rideshare drivers and gig economy workers, the host of TNC Radio.live, the Rideshare Rodeo Podcast, and the Gig Economy Podcast come together for news, talk, music, stories, laughs, and more. We're live Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on TNC Radio.live.
Okay, guys, we are back on tncradio.live. I'm your host, Shannon Currier, here on the Southern Route, here with Dana Karnowski. We are talking about the Art of Living, the live event with Matthew McConaughey that we sat through last month, and just sharing what we learned from it because it was so encouraging to us. We wanted to share kind of what we got out of it. And it's not an event you can sit through now. I'm sure you can find snippets of it on YouTube, but it really was encouraging. And, you know, I've talked about how initially I sat in because it was Matthew McConaughey, and who doesn't want to look at and listen to Matthew? And I was going to do that while I was working, you know, like I listen to music while I work. I thought I'll listen to this live while I work. And it turned out I had to stop working for a little bit and take a couple of hours off because I got so invested in what was being talked about. I thought I've got to take some notes. And so I ended up having to take some time off from work to finish this live event. And I think there's just so much that I got out of it. Like we've said, we're still processing all of it. Even 2 or 3 weeks later, we're still processing it and talking about it. And one of the things that he talks about in there is, you know, people sometimes have told him that he's selfish, that he thinks about himself. You know, why are you so worried about yourself and investing into yourself? And so one of the things he said that I wrote down is he said, you know, if I'm not for me, who the hell is? And I thought, wow, that's right. You know, I mean, who is always advocating for you? That should be you. There's nobody that's going to advocate for you like you are. And nobody knows how you feel. Nobody knows how you think. Nobody knows what you're dealing with on the inside. And if we don't recognize those things and advocate for ourselves and know the areas we need to grow in, nobody else knows that except us. So we have to really invest in ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, when he said that, I was like, wow, something, I mean, it seems so obvious when he said it, but yet I wasn't doing that. I wasn't advocating for myself. So if, you know, that, but when he said it, it just seemed like, wow, he's right. Yes, I am going to be for myself.
Well, isn't it, you know, you all may recognize Dana's name because we've worked together at the St. Christopher Fund, and she's not there anymore, but of course we're friends. And so we stay in touch and we talk. But how many times have you and we encourage drivers? We have encouraged drivers. You've got to invest in yourself. We talk about the health and wellness things at St. Christopher. You've got to invest in yourself. You have to invest in yourself. And yet it's so easy to tell other people to do it, but it's not so easy to take your own advice, you know, and do it for yourself.
Exactly. Well, I think in going back and looking over my notes and everything that I started to realize, yes, this is an ongoing process and something I need to refer back to regularly to remind myself you're worth it.
Agreed. And like you say, it's not the whole thing really was an encouragement. This is not a one-day thing. You don't say, okay, today I'm going to invest in myself and then that's it, you're done. You have to continually find the time and make the time to acknowledge that you are worth that hour to go get your hair done or your toes done, or to read a book, or to take a class, or to listen to some music, or sit outside in the sunshine and get some fresh air. we are worth that investment. Our cup has to be full, or we have nothing to pour into other people. And that's what we want to do. I mean, we want to pour into other people, but I mean, if you're empty, how do you do that?
Exactly. So I think that kind of ties into I had like a little side note over here that that this what we're working towards is finding the what he calls the more in life. And this my notes are helping to bridge the gap about from where we are currently in our lives to where we want to be. And I really just loved that he often referred to what is your more. Find out what your more is in life, and write those things down. What do you want more of?
Right. Did you have a hard time writing that down? Because wasn't that one of the times where he like took a break and he said, what are your more? Now, there were people doing it on a live screen so he could read those off, but those of us at home, we were trying to write that down. Did you have a hard time like writing down what you wanted more of? Did you struggle? And then once I got started, maybe I got going, but it took me a minute.
You felt kind of weird, like, what do you mean, writing more seemed kind of, like, I don't know, like selfish, like more.
Right?
I want to be grateful for what I have, not want more. That seemed just weird at first. But then as I heard people, writing down some things, I'm like, well, more doesn't have to be, I want to make millions of dollars. I mean, who doesn't? But that's
Right.
not that wasn't a more for me. A more can be something just basic, like, more sunshine.
Yeah.
And spending 15 or 20 minutes a day just sitting outside, maybe doing nothing, maybe just appreciating, listening to the birds or looking at the flowers or whatever. That's a more. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it was kind of weird. You're exactly right. It was kind of weird at first. I'm like, what does he mean more?
Yeah, I did that, and he wanted you to really think about what do you want more of. And I mean, I wrote things like I need, better health, which I guess that's a more. I need better health. Um, I want to learn more. Okay, what do I want to learn more about? What I don't know. Do I expect more of others than I'm willing to give? That's typically not true. Typically, I'm giving more. But maybe I should expect more of others. Maybe I should raise that bar, of what I expect from others. And what steps am I taking to get that more? There were a lot of people that wrote down a lot of different things. I mean, they wanted more time with their kids, more financial freedom, which who doesn't want that? More happiness, more forgiveness. There's all kinds of things that we want, more of. I mean, I want more laughter just in a general day.
Well, I
I
like
want
that.
things to laugh about and be happy about.
Well, you have the best laugh anyway, so
Oh,
I love to hear you laugh. So I think in talking about, when we were writing down the more, the basic message was, whatever you want, claim it, declare it, and go after it. So, those are kinds of the things now. Claim it, declare it, and go after it. And it doesn't have to be huge. It can be little more or big more.
right. Well, and sometimes first when I hear, well, just claim it, I think of that, name it and claim it faith. And that's not what he was saying. He was really making you want to recognize what it is you want more of, admit that that's what you want more of. And now what steps do I need to take to reach
Get
that
there.
goal of having more of that thing? So
Mhm.
it's not a name it, claim it kind of thing, even though, you know, when you use the word name it, claim it, you know, it kind of comes across that way, but that's not what it is at all. It was, you know, what work are you willing to put in to get the more that you want? You know,
Right.
what steps do you need to take? Do you know what steps you need to take? Well, I don't know, you know, or what steps am I afraid to take? I know I need to take this step, but am I afraid to take that step? What's holding me back from taking that step to get more?
Yeah, and that was a message that he talked about, like what's holding you back, you know, and a lot of what's holding you back sometimes for me is me. I'm holding myself back um because I've been had this notion that you know that it's selfish, but you know, like we've been saying, number one, I'm worth it, and number two, um that it's okay if I'm not for myself, who the hell is?
That's right. That's right. And we do tend, you know, to hold ourselves back. And, you know, you know, he one of the questions he asked is, what is the boogeyman? You know, what is your boogeyman that's holding you back? Is it money? I mean, sometimes lack of money, lack of finances to do something can keep us from achieving a goal immediately. But again, you have to make decisions. What decisions can I make today to get me the money that I need to get to where I
Right.
want to be? So again, that's a whole process. It's still working towards whatever your more is. You know, is it confidence? Is it the judgment of other people? Is it the fear of disappointing other people? You know, one thing that I wrote down is, you know, does what I want align with God's will? And then, am I afraid of God's will for my life? That kind of, I was like, maybe. What if he wants something different than what I want? You know, so
Right? Yeah.
all these,
I think that was another thing is like, you know, really being honest with yourself, not lying to yourself and just being honest and writing it down and claiming it and um
yeah,
yeah. And I think that's funny that you said because I think it is hard to yeah, well how we react when when we have different ideas than God wants for us.
right. That's right. That's,
Yeah.
you know, that's a tough thing
That's
because,
a tough one. Yeah.
yeah, because it might not be where we are in the lane we're
Right.
in the job we're in, and it could be anything that needs to be changed that we are holding tight to and unwilling to let go so we can have more and better. So yeah,
Right.
that's a
I
hard
think
thing
that
to,
I think the more too is that we need to be doing more of what we enjoy doing. And you know, that that is, you know, so you have to really make a list and really think about what do I enjoy doing and never really sat down and thought about it.
right, that's the thing. We don't sit down and think about it. And I want to stay on that topic when we come back. I got to hop out and take a quick break, but I want to come back and I want to ask you, I want to tell you something that somebody recently asked me that goes right along with that. So we'll be right back here on tncradio.live. I'm your host, Shannon Courier on the Southern Route.
Ready for the power of positive and something that will put you back to a time you wanted to last forever? Music is the ultimate time machine. What was your favorite time? Do you want to go back there? LTD Radio features the songs of the 70s, 80s, and 90s that will transport you to a happier time. It'll make you smile and brighten your day. We could all use that about now. TNCRadio.live is proud to carry the great music of LTD Radio.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the third segment of the Southern Route. I'm here with Dana Karnowski. Thank you for joining us. We are talking about a recent live event that we sat through with Matthew McConaughey called The Art of Living. And again, that is not my Southern accent. That's leaving off the G in living. That is actually how it is written, The Art of Living. And we got so much out of this, and we wanted to share it with you. We've talked about it so many times since, but we wanted to share with you because it was really encouraging and really made us sit down and start kind of doing some evaluation of different things in our lives and, where do we want to go and where do we want to be? And I don't know if anybody's like me. I think about all the time, I'm meant to do more than what I'm doing. Why am I being lazy? There's stuff I'm supposed to be doing, and what is that stuff, and what steps do I need to be taking to get to where I think I'm supposed to be? And as I process where I think I'm supposed to be, maybe I'll figure out if that's where I'm supposed to be. So we were talking about, the things that hold us back and trying to figure out, what is that more, and what the questions you have to ask yourself to figure out more. And I said I was going to share something that somebody recently asked me. I was talking to my friend Lindsay Lawler, and we were just talking about, lots of different irons in the fire that she has and that I have. And just it seems people in general, we all have so many things going on. There's, we don't have just one thing and that's it. There's just a lot going on. And so, these are her questions. She said, what lights you up? What inspires you? What seems sexy and fun to you? And I was like, I don't, let me think about that. I
Right.
was like, I love doing new things. I love new experiences. I love meeting new people. I like adventure. I like having a voice. I like feeling like I make a difference somewhere in the world, even if it's just this tiny little piece. I feel like I enjoy making a difference with people and listening to people. So I mean, what's something that did you come up with anything new listening to this that you were like, well, I hadn't really thought about that in a long time, but this is something that I want more of. This is something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, so there were a couple of things, and it was hard to write the things down because I'm like, well, maybe this more is too big, or maybe this is, well, that seems so basic, like, but it's okay. That's my more. It's not going to be the same as someone else's.
Right.
And so I kind of found myself like having a list of little things and then like bigger things that I'm going to have to really work towards. But it's okay because they're equally important. Sometimes just doing little things can, change our attitude for the day while we're working on getting to the more bigger things, or if you will.
Well, I almost feel like it's a checklist. You got to
Yeah.
have some little things because, when you have a task list, you
Yeah.
feel good when you get to check one of those things off. And
Yeah.
so I think it's good to have some smaller things and some bigger things because you're going to feel a sense of accomplishment when you're able to check off one of those smaller things. That's going to help you continue working towards the bigger things.
Absolutely. And I think, in what I've learned through this is that, the list is going to change as I change. And so I'm going to have to constantly go back and reevaluate. Is this still a more, but, for me, a small, more is just enjoying the outdoors or sitting outside in the sun or looking at just maybe walking around the yard and seeing what new plants have come up. Just 15 or 20 minutes, but it's enough to refresh me and things that I previously it's not, well, I don't have time to do that,
Mhm.
And then some of, bigger more is, I'm an empty nester now. So what would I like to do more of? I would love to do more travel. And that is just because I love visiting new places. I love looking at different cultures and languages and people and find out how other people are living.
Right. And yeah, I mean, you really don't even have to leave the country to do that, to be honest with you. You just travel to
Right.
different parts of the country and you said,
Mhm.
heck, you can get out and talk to your neighbors for the most part, you know.
That makes me feel kind of bad, but
Well, I tell you,
I probably haven't talked to my neighbors in weeks, months.
well, I know we don't talk to ours either, but that's different than how it used to be when we were growing up. You knew all your neighbors. But one of the things I have on my book, and I actually highlighted it today when I was looking back through my stuff, is, you know, putting ourselves in other people's shoes doesn't mean we stop wearing our own. And I
Wow.
was like, that's pretty deep.
Mhm.
That doesn't change what I believe and what my core values are, but I can find common ground with people that are different from me. And I want to do that because odds are there's more common ground than uncommon ground.
Wow. It could really, if everybody took some time to do that, well, there'd be a lot less bad uh things going on in the world, huh? We could just
Right? If we stop watching and listen to the news all the time and actually talk to people, well, it'd
right.
probably make things a lot better.
Okay. Well, another more that I wrote down, for me, it's a more because I'm guilty, and approved. But
Right? Don't forget the approved part.
okay, is to work harder on myself in life than I do at work. And so, I have been, my parents were really company people. My dad worked for a company for 45 years. My mom worked for a company for 42 years. And they were always driven. I remember growing up and being told, you took a job and you stayed with the job. And if you had more than one or two jobs on your resume, you just looked flighty, as my mom would say.
Right.
And I, so when I took a job, I invested my whole self in it, and think I lost some of, who I was because I was so focused on work, work, work. That was, you would get up in the morning, you would work, you come home, you do family stuff, you go back to work, And so for me, a more is finding what else I enjoy other than work. And Shannon, you probably knew this, but for a number of years, I was really into metalworking and made a lot of jewelry. And I went down into my studio over the weekend, and I looked and I thought, I I didn't even realize this, but it's literally been probably 3 years since I picked up the torch.
Wow.
Why? Because I love it. I love it. So why has it been 3 years? Well, just got so wrapped up in everything else and everybody else and what have you that I suddenly lost something that was really important to me. So for me, that's another more getting back to doing creative things, and finding, you know, um, an outlet, a creative outlet.
I think we all need that. And, you know, that's why I started doing this podcast because
Mhm.
I was talking to Sam one day and I said, I just feel like I mean, I don't play music or anything. I'm not a singer. I don't have anything like that. I mean, I can't really draw or paint or anything like that, but I can talk. And, but I don't have any of those creative outlets. I mean, I dance every Thursday night. That's one thing that I do, every week. As long as I'm in town, is I do line dance with some friends on Thursday night. And so that, I look forward to that outlet on Thursday nights. But I said, I feel like I need a creative outlet. And I had thought about doing a podcast, and I'm like, well, what would I talk about? Who would even be interested? And then I thought, you know what? The opportunity came up, and I jumped at it. And so this has been a creative outlet for me. And I'm still learning how to do it. But again, I find myself sometimes at the last minute trying to put a podcast together because I have people I want to talk to. Now they're busy and I'm busy and schedules don't always match up, but I'm focused on work
Mhm.
and not focused on this. Not that this should take the place of work by any means. I'm not saying that. I mean, I have to have an income, but there's time that I could say, okay, I'm finished with this for the day, and I'm going to pick up this piece of me, and I'm going to grow this piece of me because it's going to help on the work side as well. And so, reminding ourselves to do that, because it's really encouraging and fun for me to sit and talk to people about their stories and laugh about funny things. And, you've been on before and we've talked about stuff and laughed. And I don't want to be complacent, and I feel like I'm complacent, but at 52, I have this sense of urgency that's building of, your life's more than half over and you still have stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think that was the message that I got during, this event too. And then I started thinking, yeah, do it.
Yeah, taking that first step sometimes is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Saying yes to that very first decision that starts you on that path. That first yes is the hardest part.
So let me ask you this. So when talking about my creative outlet, which is metal working or
So
working.
let me just tell you, I have to interrupt down here. She is one of the most creative people I have ever known. She can make anything. She can come up with slogans. She can do, I mean, so creative in decorating. I mean, events. She is just one of these people that can do everything. So
I can't dance. I can't dance. We've established that. I dance through you. I like watch you dance. But in talking about that, so I really love to do it, right? And you're saying that I'm good at it, but guess what? In my brain, I make stuff and then I think, well, this isn't perfect. And so well, no one would want this. And so then I start having all these thoughts, and then I put my stuff away, and then here you go. And then there's, I can't even remember what I was making 3 years ago, but whatever it was, I must have gotten upset about it and thought, well, I'm no good at this. And I walked away. And then suddenly 3 years have passed. I got to get back to it. But I think that was one of the messages that I got, to stop telling myself that I have to achieve perfection, and I'm guilty of that for sure in all aspects of life.
I would agree with that. And we're going to continue that in our last segment. We got to hop out for a quick break. We'll be right back on tncradio.live. I'm your host, Shannon Currier, on the Southern Route with Dana Karnowski, and we'll be right back.
Be sure to listen to Building Strong Minds with Dr. Chris, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, right here on tncradio.live.
I'm Ron Samuels. We put it in reverse gear so you can enjoy the history of popular music and hear the soundtrack of life Wednesdays at 8 Eastern and 7 Central, right after the train station on tncradio.live.
Okay, we are back here on the TNCradio.live. This is the Southern Route. I'm your host, Shannon Courier. We have been talking with my friend Dana Karnowski about a live event we sat through that Matthew McConaughey did called The Art of Living. And we were just talking about really not having confidence in ourselves and thinking that it's not good enough if it's not perfect. And honestly, nobody's perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect. And that is something that we have to overcome. But I do know that about you, that, you like things to be perfect and you will spend extra time and extra attention to the detail to make sure it's as perfect as it can be. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if it hinders you from achieving some of the more we've been talking about, then you never achieve what you were trying to accomplish.
Exactly. And also, what's interesting, I started thinking about after this this event with Matthew McConaughey. So why do I have this expectation of myself to produce perfect? Because I do not expect that from anyone else ever. Like I don't expect other people to be perfect or them to, make things that are perfect. And I see all kinds of different art and stuff and I love it. And I'm thinking, I wonder if they're sitting on the other side thinking the same thing that I'm doing, that their work's not perfect. I don't know. It's just so funny. And so then that got me thinking of, why am I expecting so much more of myself than what, like you just said all those wonderful, nice things about me. And, so you obviously think highly of me. Why am I not thinking highly of myself?
Right?
How to change this?
Well, I've talked about that. I did a Bible study years ago, and it was about what the lady called a thought closet. And, we do more damage to ourselves with our own thoughts than other people do to us because we tend to talk negatively in our heads to ourselves. And I think that's why the stickers, the Post-its on mirrors or on computers or on your wall or whatever, those are so valuable notes to ourselves, reminding ourselves that we are good enough and we are valuable enough and we do deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. And we have to remind ourselves that we are worthy. I mean, you said that at the beginning, we are worthy. And if we aren't for us, who the hell's going to be for us? We have to be for ourselves. And that's not in a selfish, I'm the greatest kind of way, but we do have to have some confidence in ourselves to accomplish things. If we never feel like we're good enough and we never think we can accomplish anything, then we won't try to accomplish anything.
Exactly. Well, so I can't remember. Maybe you wrote more down about this. I don't have it right in front of me, but one of the talking about being Southern women, this I struggled with it a little bit and I had to keep going back and thinking about it and process it, but it just seemed like I was being selfish. But I believe he said in this training that the definition of selfish is actually selfless. So
right, he did. He actually talked quite a bit about that being selfish is not a bad thing.
right.
You need to be more selfish so you can be more selfless.
Right. Yeah,
that's a different concept to think about because that's not how
it's not how our brains have been. Yeah, it's not how we've been trained. And I had to keep saying, I really stopped and I had to keep repeating it to make sure that I understood it. But then after I did, I thought, God, well, he's really he's on point. And I want to say too, he's an actor, he's a professor, whatever. He's a great motivational speaker. And if no one's heard him before. I didn't realize that, but I mean, he truly has a gift.
He really does. And I was kind of surprised, to be honest with you, because I was afraid that it might come across as acting because he is
Yeah.
a fantastic actor. But, this all really came about because of the book he wrote called Green Lights, which I haven't even read yet, but I want to. But he was in the same place as most of us is, I feel like I'm called to do more. What is that more? How do I get to that more? Why do I want that more? Is it a more that's worthy of striving for? And he took a lot of time away. We all know he's kind of stepped away from Hollywood for a while, and making movies focused on his family, his wife and his kids. And he felt like he needed to do that to figure out who he was and why he wanted, because he's very goal driven, and he says that in the live, he is very goal driven. And if he's hasn't gotten an award or an accomplishment or something like that, he feels like he's failing because
Mhm.
he doesn't have an award or an accomplishment for something. And that's his issue that he's having to work through is, why do I have to have accolades all the time to feel worthy? Not everybody has that same issue, but I just thought it was really good because how many people he had an opportunity because of his status, financially, to be able to step away and do something like this, where a lot of us don't necessarily have it or wouldn't have even thought about doing it. But it was a great encouragement. I don't know. I think what he really learned about himself and struggled with, we all struggle with. I mean, he's not any different. He's a man just like everybody else. Just because he's famous doesn't mean he doesn't have the same thoughts and struggles and insecurities that the rest of us have. And so it really, I mean, he's always seemed very approachable and human to me anyway, being famous, quote unquote. And I'm not necessarily a Star Trek kind of person. I probably would be with him, but but it just really sitting down and thinking about these things, taking the time to think about them is what's important. Where are you and where do you want to be and why do you want to be there? And what steps do you need to take to get there? And who am I taking on that journey with me? If anybody, maybe it's just something I have to take by myself for a period of time, and how do I do that? And so really thinking through, and you really have to go through that process for every single one of these things that you want more of.
Yeah, and I think it's fluid too. You may start down the road thinking that this was your more, but maybe once you get started, you're like, wait, actually, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you
It's
might think it's one thing, it turns out to be something completely different.
yeah, and so it's okay to change, and grow. And I love the title, The Art of Living, because when I really started to think about the title, I'm like, well, it is an art. It's not something that, we just can just do. It's a process. It's, I start to think about it like a collage of like art. And, there's all different pieces and they all kind of just make the picture of our life. So I really love the title, The Art of Living.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It tells me too, I have to keep working at it.
yeah, yeah, I think that's a good reminder. There's not going to be this day where we've made it.
Right. Then we
Yeah.
check it off the list.
We check it off the list and there's nothing else left on the list. I've accomplished everything I want to accomplish. I don't think that's ever going to be the case, and it just the whole thing was a good reminder to and invest in myself, um, recognize what my anchor is in my
Mhm.
life. There's nobody coming to save me. I'm responsible for me. Um, and we also, one thing he said, we've only got a couple minutes left, but, um, you know, my journey's not your journey. Your journey's not mine. Got to stop comparing ourselves. Um, and we all have a lot of baggage from the past, what what are we taking from our past into our future? There's a lot of stuff that needs to be let go and shrugged off too, because that's not who we are and it's not going to help us get to the more that we want. So we've got to let some things go.
I think that was a really good point. And then one maybe last point for me that was something that I really want to do more of is to focus on gratitude. And and I'm grateful for you if I don't ever tell you. So
You do, and I'm grateful for you. We have to be thankful for those friends that are there when they need us.
yeah, and I think that in gratitude, it helps to, say, I'm thankful for these experiences that I've had in the past, and how can I use those to shape the future? So,
And I think that's the thing. It's not that we enjoyed maybe some negative experiences, but what did we learn from those? There has to be something that we take away from those. We have to see the positive, and I think we have to continually tell ourselves that this was a positive from that. I'm thankful that I went through what I went through because it's made me who I am today. Now, how can I take what I know and experienced, and how can I get to where I want to be from here? And it is a lifelong process. It is the art
journey.
of living. It is the
It is.
art of living, taking all those pieces of a puzzle or a painting or, a collage, and they all make up who we are. All those pieces, that's who we are. Do some of those need to move around? Do some of them need to be pushed to the back and maybe covered up with something else because that is no longer what we need? Where it's a layer. It's like those pieces of art they're not just flat.
Right.
They have different layers to them, different textures to them. And I think our textures change throughout the course of our life.
And I think all the textures make the art beautiful in its own way. So, we wouldn't be beautiful and have, being able to move to the next level if we didn't have those layers, whether they're good or bad.
Right.
So
I agree.
I thought I'm really, really excited. I wish that he would do it again, just because, like you said, there was so much information that I know that if I heard it a second time, I would get all new pieces again.
We'll have to be on the lookout for some pieces shared that we can go back and revisit. So
Maybe
sure.
if we talk into Facebook and say we need more Matthew McConaughey, things will pop up, right? Have you ever noticed that with me on Facebook? You just talk about something and suddenly there's an ad for it. So anyway,
right.
Start doing that, and I'm gonna
That's right. That's right. That's what we're gonna do. Well, thank you for joining me today. There's definitely more we could talk about. I mean, we didn't even talk about everything that I have gotten from this, and maybe we'll come back and talk about it again, and continue sharing what we know. But that's all the time that we have for tonight. I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this with me.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun, and I can't wait. And I'm gonna go practice the art of living.
That's right. Let's go live some life.
That's right.
Thank you all for joining us tonight here on the Southern Route. I'm your host, Shannon Currier. You can find all of the episodes on tncradio.live or over on the YouTube channel as well. We hope you will join us again next week for a new episode. Everybody have a safe week. Go make a friend, say something nice to somebody, share your smile, and have a fantastic week.